Ray Anderson has joined us, we being Bill Russell, I, Paula Gordon, in conversation with people at the leading edge over many years now, and we met many years ago as one of those people at the leading edge. The story you were telling then was similar to the story you're telling now, and different. Because now, 15 years after you began this journey, you really have demonstrable bottom line reporting back that your good idea is a profitable idea in both moral and economic terms. Isn't adding that moral part to the economy part of Economics 202?
Probably so, but most people haven't got to that lesson yet. In a way, we're writing the lesson, I guess. Not to be presumptuous here, but we're plowing new ground. I mean, we're going where I don't know anyone else has tread, and it's amazingly thrilling, frankly, and fulfilling, as well as challenging, of course. But Paula, we created a plan in 1995 to climb Mount Sustainability, the 7 faces of the mountain, and we studied that mountain for fully a year to figure it out, and with the help of a lot of really good people, including Paul Hawken, who wrote the book, and the environmental consultant for the Southern California Gas Company, who said Interface doesn't get it. You know, he was on our advisory team, still is, John Picard. And we created the plan to climb the 7 faces of the mountain, and that plan is still the plan. It has proven to be a good plan and a good metaphor, a good vision. You know, you draw that mountain, the top of the mountain, that's where we're going. That point symbolizing 0 footprint, 0 environmental impact, and the 7 faces. And today, we'd say there's an 8th face as well. You know, the mountain is not a static mountain. It does evolve. It's something of a moving target, but we realize there's an 8th face, and maybe there's a 9th one that we haven't recognized yet. The 8th face has to do with social equity. And by the way, you know, a stronger commitment to social responsibility as well as environmental and economic responsibility.
And they all fit together. This is the same mountain.
They all fit together, absolutely. It's the same mountain. What's different today from 15 years ago is that we're well up that mountain today. And the vision is proving to be realizable. It's not some pie in the sky thing that is totally impossible, though a lot of people thought so early on. But it's proven to be feasible. We're better than 60% of the way from the base of the mountain to the top of the mountain. We started at the base. And the rewards have been amazing in the marketplace, as well as in our feel-good side of ourselves. In the marketplace, we've won market share without a doubt, and we have survived 2 really serious recessions in our industry. The one that lasted from 2001 to 2004 was at the time the longest and the deepest recession in our industry's history. We came through that with increased market share. And now we're in another one, and we are coming through it with increased market share, proving the value of the business model, proving the value of doing well by doing good.
Things like you started 15 years ago when oil was relatively cheap. Oil gets expensive. You've cut the cost of, you use less oil. All of these things, including radical innovation technologically.
True.
When you begin to recycle the foundation of what you do, which was, the way you tell it, it sounded more or less inconceivable at the beginning.
Well, the technology didn't exist. When we began, we only had this sort of vague vision of what we had to do, but how to do it was a total mystery. And it took the inventions of really smart people, not just our people, too. We've had to scour the world for the inventions that would take us, up that mountain. And
all 7, now 8, maybe 9 faces at a time. You don't get to pick, do you?
Right. Each one is its own challenge, and each one has to be climbed clear to the peak.
And simultaneously.
And simultaneously.
And they're
right.
interconnected.
So there's a lot going on. You get a lot of moving parts here.
Well, you need a big company.
Yeah, and with a pretty good-sized company at that, yeah.
I want to talk
Big company.
briefly about Kyoto, because Kyoto in this country has had a terrible reputation. The Senate just bailed on it before we even had a chance to talk about it. Kyoto was basically arguing that we should cut our greenhouse emissions by 7%.
Seven. That would be seven.
Seven.
Seven. 5 plus 2.
Which, by and large, everybody agreed would destroy the economy. I think I'm doing this from a failing memory, but you say, I think in this book somewhere, that something like 90+% of all the energy we use in producing things is wasted, which suggests to me that 7% was almost trivial if we had, again, had the commitment and the persistence to follow through.
Yeah, the figure that I focus on is the throughput of the industrial system. I'm talking about not talking about my plant, but the whole ball of wax, the whole industrial system. The throughput, the metabolism, if you will, of the industrial system. Only about 3% of that throughput has any value 6 months later. 3%. Your laptop computer, for example, weighs what, 7, 8, 9 pounds? Mm-hmm. Probably 40,000 pounds of stuff was processed to distill your 7, 8, or 9 pounds of working parts. So you've left 99.9% of the stuff, in a waste pile somewhere. Tailings at the mine, energy that went out the smokestack. In a zillion places, there's waste in the system. So when you look at where we are, that's the starting place. It ought to be really very, very easy to cut that waste in half.
That looks like opportunity every page you turn.
It's all expensive. I mean,
it's all money. Yeah, it's money and it's pollution and it's bad in every respect. And yet our system somehow says, well, that's normal. Well, it's very abnormal if you stop and think about it. Who would want to run a waste-making machine?
That costs you money.
Yeah, it's weird that we would accept anything like that.
It's sort of like all that money that's on the road, except instead of it being laying on the street, it's like we're reaching into our pockets and putting it out.
Let's see, I'm going to pay to be wasteful.
You tell a story in precisely this context about a methane problem near one of your factories, not as close as you would have liked, probably, near one of your factories, and how that alone could have addressed, if people had done what you did, your company did, we could have met the Kyoto protocols simply out of using methane to generate.
At a profit to everyone.
And methane is real bad for the atmosphere.
21 times as bad as carbon dioxide as a global warming gas. Huge opportunity to not only reduce the greenhouse gases, but to make a buck. We worked with the city of LaGrange.
That would be LaGrange, Georgia.
LaGrange, Georgia. They harnessed they spent the $3 million in capital cost to capture the methane and pipe it 9 miles to our factory. We invested $50,000 in a couple of boiler modifications to be able to substitute the methane for the present natural gas. We bought that energy from the city, are buying it today at 30% less than the cost of natural gas. The city is reaping a huge financial return on that $3 million investment over the life of the landfill, which is calculated to be something like 40 years. The city will recoup on the order of $35 million at present value. Mm-hmm. From that $3 million investment. The Earth has spared greenhouse gas emissions that are 21 times as bad as carbon dioxide. And Interface is getting credit for the offset. It's 21 times 6% of our factory's energy. I think something in that neighborhood. That's over 100% of our energy as an offset. A greenhouse gas offset.
And the city has more landfill because you take the methane out, it goes down.
Exactly. The city's postponed their next landfill, they think, for maybe 15 years by doing this. So it's been win, 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 win. And the only loser is the natural gas supplier, who lost a little bit of business. but has that, you can see he's got more left in the ground than he had, than he would have had.
And you're selling it to your competition. I love that part.
Oh, the excess gas is going to a competitor across town, yeah.
This also raises, in that same context, methane, among its other, in addition to being a nasty greenhouse gas, also smells bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
One of the problems
The nearby African-American community is very appreciative, by the way, of this project.
Exactly, but that brings up an area that seems to me in some ways to be the most challenging and in some ways the most promising part of what you're doing, which is the notion, call it social sustainability. I read that and I think, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I read your book and I still am a little fuzzy on what that means. And it seems to me that is, as much as anything, and we've got our hands around the technical pieces conceptually. I mean, we can see it.
Yeah.
And we can demonstrate it. We can put it on charts.
And you have.
And you've got the data. When we start talking about social sustainability, it seems to me we're off into a new wonderland. Tell us about social sustainability.
It is so big that it's hard to get one's mind around it, really. It has so many facets, so many elements, and you can think of another one when you think you've thought of them all. There's still more, and there's more, there's more, there's more. The simplification of the other side of complexity, you understand that concept, as opposed to simplification of this side of complexity. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, I wouldn't give you a fig for simplification of this side of complexity, but I'd give you my arm for simplification of the other side of complexity. Simplification of the other side of complexity, the whole social equity ball of wax boils down to making fair and efficient use of resources to meet all human needs. Not wants, but needs. All human needs.
Fair and efficient.
Fair and efficient use of resources to meet all human needs. This is the fourth principle of the natural step. Carl Henry had it right, 20 years ago.
This has to do with justice, doesn't it? I mean, isn't that just right dead center of what?
It's justice, it's ethics, it's morality, it is the golden rule.
And it's life on earth.
And of course, and most certainly it's quality of life on earth.
And it's a work in progress.
4 billion people who are living in abject poverty today.
One of the things that really struck me when we come back, I'll interrupt me this time, you had a person early on who said, isn't it kind of funny we call our factories plants? And when we come back, we'll talk about plants, we'll talk about interface, we'll be talking with the great Ray Anderson. Be with us. We'll be back in just a moment.